Outlined against a blue-gray October sky. The Browns will ride again, my friend. Wounded, but willing. Tonight against Denver. Welcome into Cleveland Browns Daily. Merely Beau and the Great Z. If they don't look like football in Ohio, I don't know what does.
Yeah, you got all the makings, some gray, some wind, some rain. Although it looks like the rain might hold off by the time we get to the kick, which would be lovely, quite frankly, for me personally.
That's all I care
That's what
about.
I would. That's what I'm looking for.
Are.
I did bring my rain jacket, which I'm hoping I will never need. I'm hoping it'll just sit in my backpack unused. But to me, this is a monster game. This is a big, big night. I love these Thursday night games because everybody's watching. Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night. This is the only game going on in the NFL. It's getting all the hype on every talk show around the country, every football show, every sports show. It's all about this Browns team tonight, and I think they have a chance to make a real statement. And not only that, you can kind of hear boom, 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 boom. The heartbeat is back, the heart and soul.
Yeah.
Jarvis Landry, ladies and gentlemen.
Whew. Boy, needed. Really needed, I think, tonight, and could provide a heck of a boost. I'm not sure what to expect in terms of production.
He's Jarvis.
But he's Jarvis, and so if it's near him, he'll catch it, and I think he'll provide some much-needed boost. It's just having his presence, having him in a uniform means so much to so many people, especially when we're as walking wounded as we are.
I think today started off with great news, to be perfectly honest. You've got Jarvis, huge. You're right. He just elevates everything around him. The competitive spirit of Jarvis Landry, the toughness of Jarvis Landry, the clutch meter of Jarvis Landry. So you've got him back. It looks like and feels like at this point Jed Wills is going to go. And that is massive because it allows Blake Hance to kick to right tackle. It takes James Hudson off of the field, and James Hudson he's giving it his all.
Yep.
But he's not ready. He's still very young in his career as an offensive lineman. This guy who started his collegiate career as a defensive lineman has only played one season as a tackle. And so he was thrust into action before he was ready and certainly did the best job that he could do. But to get Jed back and to put Blake back out there now, tough matchup for Blake against Von Miller, and I imagine there'll be some help on that right side. But I think that's huge for the line. And I'll tell you, I know that it was reported by James Palmer that it was an uphill battle for Odell. I think there's a better chance than not that we see Odell. A lot still has to go. He's got to go out there, the pregame warm-up, you got to test it out.
Yeah, right.
But I think we're going to see Odell Beckham Jr. as well, which means we went from feeling like who's going to be out there.
Neither of those guys.
You didn't think you'd have either Odell or Jarvis. You didn't think you'd have either tackle. Now you definitely have, I think, Jarvis. Definitely you have Jarvis. Probably Jed. Potentially Odell. And so now it just kinds of be the guys behind the line of scrimmage were the change. Case Keenum in, Dearness Johnson in, Baker, Chubb, Hunt out. Huge losses, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Not going to try to understate those, but this is a better scenario than it felt like it had the chance to be just 2 days ago.
No question. Yeah, no. If you 2 days ago you say, well, what do you think about Jarvis and Odell? I would have been surprised about Jarvis, and Odell's a coin flip. Seems like Odell is a little better than a coin flip, and Jarvis is a go. So that's hugely beneficial. Jed coming back. I'm interested to see him because it feels I'm so appreciative of how he has gutted it out when he has played, but I also think that he needed time to try to get back or as close to – no one's 100%, but as close to that as possible because he was playing in a way that was compromised. So what you want from him is to be able to get through a game is what you need for Jedrick Wills, to get through a game, to get back to being his old self. And you're right. He is absolutely needed tonight. So that sets the stage. Guys, this is a big one. It's a big one. The Ravens play the Bengals this weekend with first place in this division on the line. The winner of that game will be first place in the AFC. So those are the sites that you are chasing. To drop to 3-4, it's not the end of the world, but it ain't great. And it's a lot of distance between you and the teams at the top of the division. Considering all that has happened here from an injury standpoint, getting out of this thing at 4-3 would be a major accomplishment. You'd feel very good about it. It wouldn't be too far off of where you thought you'd be at the beginning of the year before you knew the injuries. You thought 5-2 was probably where I would have had us through 7 games. 4-3 is one off that pace, but you're right there. So the stretch is going to get easier. Hopefully you get healthier, but it really starts tonight in what is very much a crossroads game for this team.
It's a huge game. I mean, there's no way to oversell the importance of this game to this organization and to this franchise. Right now, if you're just looking at the wild card picture, you've got out of the AFC North, you'd have the Bengals at 4-2. You have the Browns and Steelers 3-3. You go down to the AFC West, you got Raiders 4-2, Broncos 3-3, Chiefs 3-3. So you're still right in the mix. But this is an important one to get. The Broncos, one of the teams I mentioned at 3-3. They've come in here on a 3-game losing streak. They have struggled with teams that can generate pressure without the blitz. Teddy's one of the best in the league against the blitz.
Yep.
But we're one of the best at getting to the quarterback with only 4. That's going to be a key matchup. Our D-line against their O-line. And this is a D-line with a lot of investment in it. And it's a D-line that tonight has the chance to wreck a game the way that it did against the Chicago Bears. The quarterback is going to be much better prepared, much more well-versed in how to deal with these things. But the fact is, our line has the chance to take over this game, and I think that's what we need. We need this defense to not be Jekyll and Hyde. We need this defense to get off the field on third downs against the worst third down offense in the National Football League. And if we do that, we're going to be fine. You can't lose if they don't score.
No.
Impossible.
No. Very much, yeah, very much is. And they have some deficiencies, and they start up front, and you should be able to wreak a little bit of havoc with our defensive line. Bridgewater very careful with the ball, good against the blitz, cerebral quarterback, sees it, throws it, those type of things. But they're wounded as well. This is, and we'll have Benjamin Albright on in the 2:00 hour. This is not some juggernaut coming in here. It's far from it. It's a team whose 3 wins are against the 2 New Yorks and Jacksonville. So the opportunity is there. It can be buoyed by the fact that the 2 receivers potentially could be back. Jarvis is back, potentially Odell as well. That lends itself, and this is something, I remember, I think it was Monday, we said, well, what's it going to look like? Like, what is he? And we talked about tight ends yesterday. What's it going to look like? Well, if you have those 2, you can do a lot because they can throw it, they can run reverses, they can run it, you can catch them on jet sweeps, they can run receiver screens, they can run double passes, they can do all sorts of things, and they've done all sorts of those things. It opens up your playbook a great deal when you have people as good as those 2 and as versatile as those 2. So I'm sure Stefanski has that stuff now in his quiver that he wouldn't have had if not those 2 being in.
For sure. And it just means that you have all hands on deck at wide receiver if, again, Odell's able to go. Now, it is far from a certainty, so I don't want anybody to misinterpret that. But it would open you up to some things. The good news is Donovan Peoples-Jones is playing his best football of the season the last 2 weeks. He's caught 9 of his 11 targets. He's got about 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. So the Browns receivers are stepping up. I think that this is a game for the tight ends. As we mentioned, Case Keenum, very effective with that position group. And, one of the things that we haven't really talked about is going back to 2017 with that season with Case Keenum, he did that all on a team that, I don't know if people remember this, but that was Dalvin Cook was supposed to be the guy. Dalvin Cook that year was off to a tremendous start. He goes down after the 4th game of the season for the year. And so all of a sudden, that's, again, Case Keenum and an offense built around the run. They're scraping it together with Latavius Murray and Jerick McKinnon. It was not Dalvin Cook, and he used Thielen, he used Diggs, he used the Jarius Wright, the Treadwell. Kyle Rudolph had a monster year that season. So Case Keenum has done it in an offense built around the running back without the real running back before.
That's right.
Took him to the NFC Championship, a team without Dalvin Cook. So this is what he is ready for. This is what he is built for. You'd love to have everybody available to you. I think the fact that Jarvis and it sounds like Jed are back is already light years better than what we thought it could be. And now if you can sprinkle in a little Odell Beckham Jr. in the mix, I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
I feel
it gives you that may put you in a good spot.
I'm feeling good.
If you can get, the news of Jarvis coming back, you get a little Blessum back in the game. That's a win for everybody. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Odell would add a little boost to that as well. There's some versatility that comes with that. The other thing you have to factor in is you're going to have all of you, man. You're going to have a full stadium at night in prime time on the shores of Lake Erie. First Energy Stadium is going to be rocking tonight. You can impact a game tonight. Frankly, you may have to yell to stay warm, so do so, right?
I mean,
there's a real advantage to that, and it's something that can be leaned upon tonight.
I'm trying to think in my mind, in my time with the Browns, 2013, I want to say there was a Thursday night game against the Bills, Gibbe. And T.J. Ward had a walk-off pick six. Here.
Wasn't a walk-off.
It was
we
ended the game. It iced the game.
Yeah.
The quarterback was Tool time. Jeff Tool.
Jeff Tool.
Yeah.
Boy, you could have given me 100 guesses and I wouldn't have got to a Jeff Tool.
Yeah, Tool time.
No,
T.J. Ward took the house. Then you have the Thursday night win over the Jets.
Which was magic.
Was that Bills win with Brandon Whedon at quarterback?
I want to say Hoyer got hurt. Hoyer started, I want to say, and got hurt.
That's right.
And then T.J. Ward, we wore the all brown, the pants with no stripes, and they won that game. But I'm trying to think of Thursday nights at home. I remember that one. I remember the Jets game. I remember the Bengals game last year. And I do remember watching it. And I remember
he loves to stick it.
I remember the Steelers game. So am I wrong? Somebody out there who knows better than I, but have we lost? At least, certainly not in the last 3 years. We've won all of our Thursday nights at home.
No.
18, 19, 20.
Right, and the Steelers one, it ended so strangely that you didn't get that feeling of euphoria. The Jets is the one where you had that.
Yeah.
And you'll walk out of there tonight feeling that way if you go out of there with a win, because 4-3 is a big deal to get to that tonight. This is a big, big game for this team. Andrew Siciliano, of course, here for NFL Network. He will join us next. Lots of fun for you here on a game day edition, Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with digital scratch-off game brought to you by Ohio Lottery on ClevelandBrowns.com and the Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards and tickets to future games. For more information, log on to promotions.clevelandbrowns.com. We're in brown over orange tonight, are we not?
Indeed we are, for the prime time game. Yes.
Where are they on your rankings? I know that a lot of the people, certainly a lot of the people on social enjoy them. I know that. It seems like they get a big
So
bump
number
there.
one for me is the 75th anniversary.
Yep.
By a wide margin. I think they are just spectacular. I like our color rushes. I probably would put the stripes back on them just because it was so iconic that night, but I do like our color rushes.
I haven't seen those yet this year.
We have not seen those yet this year. And then I would probably go, I still like the the all whites, even though they're not the 75th whites. And then I would probably go for the brown top. I do like the orange pants with it. It's very old school. It's got that old school feel to it. I like it.
I would go 75th, brown over white, white over white, and then I would go probably brown over orange, white over orange.
White over orange is probably my least favorite.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The color rush I haven't seen the color rush in a while. It's hard to remember what that looks like. I remember being excited when it's
awesome.
That part I do remember. Yeah.
It's just brown.
I know. I do. I just don't remember it on the field. We just wore it against the Cowboys.
Dallas.
Yeah. Haven't worn it in a while.
It's brown. The only orange on it is the numbers.
Is the numbers. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, let's head out on the hotline for a visit with our good buddy Andrew Siciliano, NFL Network host, previewing this matchup on Thursday. And boy, buddy, it's been a tough week here with all of the injuries, but it looks like some good news here with Jarvis Landry officially in, and we feel pretty good that Odell Beckham Jr. could give it a go as well, and that does change things and make it easier for Case Keenum, despite the fact no Hunt and Chubb. How much does that change it from your perspective?
Hey guys, I think it changes it a little. I mean, certainly if you're going to have bad weather and if you're down your top two backs and potentially two tackles, maybe one tackle, yeah, the ability to move the chains and really the field in Case Keenum, Jarvis Landry is huge. But he alone is not going to win this game, and he alone is not going to fix the miscommunication issues in the secondary and all those other things. They just got to get through this week, survive in advance. It's Thursday, and hopefully get healthy by next week. And by the way, I will go with 75th anniversary and brown over white. I actually thought that when I saw them take the field last week, when I saw that it was brown over white, my anxiety about that game diminished. I went from this is going to be a really tough one. I don't know that they're going to beat the Cardinals to brown over white. They're fine, and then obviously that didn't work.
They are gorgeous, aren't they?
It should work, though. It should have worked. Unfortunately, it did not. All right, where are you at in terms of, taking the temperature as a Browns fan yourself of full-on panic? This is a must-win. This is a crossroads game. Where are you with this 3-3 football team coming off of, obviously, a not a great performance against the Arizona Cardinals, battered, bruised, and knowing you got the two division games coming up?
I would say I would take all of the above, Nathan, except the word panic. I don't think there should be any panic whatsoever.
Agreed.
It's still we still have 11 games left. You're 3-3. You have 11 football games left. I would say, however, the Ravens are 5-1. The Steelers have got themselves off the mat, and the Bengals seem to be legitimate enough at 4-2. So yeah. I hate to use the phrase must-win. Colleen Wolfe and I last week were sitting in Philadelphia. She's an Eagles fan trying to think of a way to describe that game for the Eagles without using the cliche must-win. I can't stand it. That's not you. That's the cliche that I'm pushing back at. But I would say this. It's far better to win this game than to lose it. I don't know. You want to call it must-win? Go ahead. But the benefits of winning this game far, far outweigh losing.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. It's it's one of those things where it kind of hit us on Monday, just the sheer amount of injury. Now, we're lucky. It's not like the Niners a couple of years ago where we haven't had season-ending injuries. But we had 30 guys who didn't practice earlier this week. We've got a ton of guys on IR, and they're critical players when you think about the losses of Hunt and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah over the weekend, out for not a week, but weeks, many weeks. The fact that Nick Chubb's not playing again. From that standpoint, it is a crossroads time of the year, I do think, for the franchise, and to find a way to scratch out a win, especially juxtaposed to your comments about the Ravens and the Bengals, who, of course, play this week. The winner of that game will be the number 1 seed in the AFC. You can't really afford to lose too much more ground.
No, you can't. That's why you have to win. That's why this one is so important, and that's why you just got to get through it, survive it, advance, and say you're the home team, the weather, the crowd, get through it, and then get healthy, or as healthy as you can get next week for Pittsburgh. I think our NFL Network notes summed it up pretty well. We have like a 100-page research packet for all the games, and obviously this one is the first one because it's the first of the week.
Yeah.
And I highlighted it on the plane yesterday. Instead of saying the Browns are dealing with a lot of injuries, it says the Browns are dealing with injuries to most of their notable players.
Yes.
Certainly on
If
offense.
you've heard of them, right. If you've heard of them, they're probably injured. Other than, God willing, Myles Garrett is healthy enough to get out there. So I know it's a bit of an exaggeration, but the Broncos are not exactly healthy either. They have a quarterback who has 2 different leg injuries, an ankle and a quad. He can't move well. He doesn't stretch the field. They have both of their middle linebackers out for season-ending injuries. They're going to have their 3rd different defensive signal caller at linebacker in only 7 weeks. Their O-line is banged up as well. Wide receiver is banged up. They have a long list of injuries, too. So Thursdays are not fun when it comes to injuries for anybody, but move past it because everyone's got them. Just get through this one.
Is this a game we talked about the defense? This is a defense that has names that people have heard about all around the league, big names. And it's a defense that's had 3 dominating performances and 3 not very good performances. Is tonight the night with this offense banged up, Andrew, that this defense and the Myles Garretts and the Clowneys and the Denzels and the John Johnsons need to have kind of that dominant performance? Say, hey, we're going to put this one on our backs here today.
Yes, 84 points the last 2 weeks isn't acceptable for anyone in any league. I don't care what opponent you have. It's kind of the same with the Broncos. They opened 3-0. They were shutting people down, but they weren't. I think through 3 games, the collective win-loss record of their 3 opponents was like 2-7 or something like that. They didn't beat anybody. Now they get to the difficult part of the schedule, and they're giving up points in bunches, and they can't move the ball. Teddy threw 3 touchdowns last week, but 2 of them came in garbage time.
Yep.
So I think the Browns defense has played well in spurts, but you have to play well against good opponents. This is a good, not great opponent, but, yeah, they need a dominant home performance. And if it's you mentioned Myles, I would say Von Miller on the other side, too. Von Miller called his team out. I got Joe Thomas on the show later, and one of the topics we're doing, he's doing an XO on both Von and Myles, and it's kind of these 2 guys can change the game tonight for their teams, right? One of them needs to dominate, and maybe the one that dominates, that team wins.
Yeah, could be. Take me through, if I could, paint a picture of inside your head as you're doing red zone, and you see some of the pass interference penalties that have been called against the Browns. You think and it's not. I'm not blaming the referees for everything, but we've been hit, I think, 3 straight games with big ones, several in the game last week. How do you maintain the composure, buddy?
I don't. I just don't. The crew has learned to accept it, but I'm not a comfortable person to be around. Let's put it that way. Last week, I was not a comfortable person to be around on set in any way, shape, or form. I was less upset last week with the guys than I was the Malik Jackson rough the passer. That was just comical. But the one 2 weeks ago, the AJ Green DPI, which should have been Mike Williams' OP, has a 40-yard swing and potentially 10 to 14 point swing.
That's right.
That was the one where I didn't break anything. I did break something last year when that 4th down pass fell incomplete in New York against the Jets, and they couldn't clinch that. I did actually break something. I'm not proud of that. Thankfully, DirecTV did not charge me for it.
That's positive.
But I kept a picture of it.
Yeah, and well, I think the thing around here, we feel like, we're watching our games and we know what's happened to us, but in your job, you're watching the whole league, and we're not the only ones. Like, this has been a real problem for the league, has it not? The inconsistency, or inability to accurately call pass interference and roughing the passer?
I would say that overall, every week there are calls that you could point to where everyone is going to say that one seemingly was obvious. I think those two were seemingly obvious. I think the difficulty moving forward is, and John Perry was tweeting about this a lot on Monday night, is if we now give New York the ability, the eye in the sky, if you will, even though we have no sky judge, to kind of guide officials. Like, no, don't make a coach waste a challenge flag. That was obviously incomplete. You guys got blocked out. We can clearly see in a split second on TV that was incomplete. Or change the call. If we can guide officials that way, and if we can guide officials on whether or not Josh Allen got to the 2-yard line and got down, why can't we guide on such obvious missed calls as well? Like, why can't we say Malik Jackson got shoved in the back? Forget about whether or not the contact was enough to warrant roughing the passer. Why can't, hey, no, guys, you missed it. He got shoved in the back there to hit the quarterback. So that to me is, I think, what needs to be figured out moving forward.
Yeah, and we had Mike Pereira on the show, and I think he was very much in alignment with that let's get these things right. We have the opportunity to do so. Let's take advantage of it, and it'll create a better environment for the game, especially with the how much gambling is intertwined with the game, and these outcomes can change.
I'm not absolving any mistake on the field by the officials, but at the same time, when you do that, you also have to remind people that Mike Williams is still running uncovered down the field, right?
Twice.
With all those things, forget about the one on the sideline there. He's still, 20 yards untouched in the middle of the end zone. DeAndre Hopkins was still lost in the red zone last week. I mean, that's not excusable.
It's not excusable, and we've had the problems, as you said, and those are things that need to get cleaned up by this defense, especially in this game tonight. Now, you're going to talk with Hoff later, Joe Thomas, about, you said Von Miller, Myles Garrett, do some X and O breakdown. Are we going to get a breakdown? And we listen to the comments, which are much different than they appeared when you first read them in print about what he's going to do to in this case, sounds like it'll be Blake Hance lined up for him, but he's going to kill him. What did you think of that from Von Miller and did you read it before you heard it?
Yes, I read it before I heard it, even read it.
I think we lost Andrew there.
It is.
Oh, there he is. He's back.
Yeah, it's as innocent when you watch the video as Miles' graveyard thing. It's pretty harmless.
Yes, very harmless. But reading it, it was a shocking thing when I said, wow, I've seen a lot of trash talk in the NFL, but never quite like that. But then it was quite humorous.
Remember, this is a desperate team as well. They were 3-0, and now they're 3-3. They badly need this one too. So he's just trying to motivate his team.
Absolutely, yeah. It was abundantly clear. Enjoy your time in our fair city, and enjoy the Hoff. We love Mr. Joe Thomas around here. Take good care of him, as I know that you will, Andrew. Thanks for your time today.
Likewise, guys. See you there. Talk to you later.
Going to be a lot of fun with all of the NFL Network crew. If you're not going down there, by the way, just a plug for them, not just because Andrew was on, because we love a lot of the stuff that they do, obviously, but that pregame show,
it's the best,
is extraordinary, folks. It is everything. If you're somebody who, even in the glory days of Inside the NBA on TNT, and I still think they still have some incredible moments, it is that for the NFL.
Yes.
If for no other reason, I encourage you to just watch the Hoff's face.
That's right.
Just watch the expressions on the Hoff's face as he is having, as Irv and Steve Smith.
Yeah.
That's worth the price of admission. It's worth the price of admission. What is it, 6:30 they start tonight?
6 o'clock.
6. So they go 6 to 8.
No, 6 to 7:30 because Fox takes over now.
Oh,
it's
that's right.
Because it's now Fox.
Okay.
Because for whatever reason, Fox needs 45 minutes on a pregame show going into a Thursday night game.
They need it because the amount of viewers are enormous and they've paid a lot.
Yeah.
Did you guys see this yesterday? But do you have one other point, Gibby, while I'm looking up this?
And they start, though. Siciliano's portion starts at 3.
By the way, NFL Network's live, not from inside the stadium on the field. They put him in the Muni lot tonight.
Oh, gosh.
They put Steve Smith in the Muni lot tonight.
Don't throw anything at Steve Smith, guys. Please
Rule
don't
number
do that.
one.
Let's
don't do that.
let's have a great accounting of ourselves.
A great accounting. No fights. Like be passionate. Absolutely no fights. And don't throw anything at Steve Smith or Irv for crying out loud. These are Joe Thomas's friends.
Listen, throw something at Steve Smith. Just be prepared for the consequences.
I don't.
And
think
hope that
you're not ready for that.
The
type of heat.
consequences don't involve Steve Smith.
Well, plus Hoff's
Hope
going
that
to defend him. So now you're going to fight the Hoff. You can't have that.
You can't hassle.
It's untenable. You can't hassle him. By the way, you asked about the. We were talking about the NFL Network, the Fox, and why they need the 45 minutes. The top. Here's an incredible stat.
Oh boy,
The
I
top
like stats.
33 shows on television since the start of this season on all of television are NFL games.
All 33.
The top 33 are
Lerone Bird.
NFL games.
Printing money.
That is crazy, folks. That's crazy. That's why the NFL is what it is. That's why the rights are what they are, and that's why it's the king. That's really hard to wrap your head around.
33
top 33 programs.
Of 33.
That's a lot of bad programs. A lot of bad games are still. You don't have 33 great games.
That's five plus a week, 5.5 a week.
Yeah. Yep. All NFL.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. We'll hit the matchup coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, it is time for the matchup, our offense versus their defense. And for that, we go to one man, Dr. Z.
All right, kids. Well, we really don't know who the skill position players are going to be for our offense, but this is a very, very good Denver Broncos defense. And when we go through the numbers for them, you're going to see where this team has really excelled. And quite frankly, they are top 4 in terms of scoring. They are top 4 in terms of yardage. This is the number 5 run defense in the NFL. They have really held down every running back group that has gone against them so far this season. So, in other words, this is not going to be an easy team to run the football against, but you can throw it on them a little bit. And I think for us, and you heard Siciliano talk about it, it's the changes in the middle of that defense. It's the changes at the linebacker position that the Browns are going to have to try to exploit in this game to take advantage of the Denver Broncos. You know, funny thing happened. I was on with our guy who's going to be on with us later. I was on with Albright in Denver yesterday.
Okay.
And Albright's co-host asked me the following question.
All right.
Are you concerned that the Browns are looking past this game and thinking about the Steelers and the Bengals? And I said, we don't have the luxury of that. I said, maybe if we're 5-1 and we had just beaten the Chargers and we were chesty about a win over the Cardinals, could you consider this a setup for a trap game? Maybe. Not after back-to-back losses.
And not with the
Not at
injuries.
3-3, and not with the injuries as well. So, no, we are not looking past that. This defense, we talked earlier, Von Miller, game wrecker, 5 sacks on the season, 25 total pressures according to Pro Football Focus. So he can get it done. They play that 3-4. They're going to try to get after us up front. But as I said, we can throw the ball on them a little bit. Who do we want to attack through the air? That is the question. Here is the answer. Guys who have been targeted extensively. Ronald Darby, quarterback rating 142.6. Kyle Fuller, 120. So those are some of the guys, but you've got to be careful. Justin Simmons on the back end, Kareem Jackson on the back end. Those are the safeties who will make you pay for a poor decision. They can get after the quarterback, and then on the back end, they can get after you. They're also a great red zone defense. They were the last 2 years the number 1 red zone defense in the National Football League. First time since that's been a stat that's been tracked that a team has ever done that consecutive seasons. They're not number 1 this year, but they're still pretty darn good.
When you were on with those guys, what did you, and well, I've been on in 20 minutes, but what was kind of your sense of the status of that franchise? It seemed like there was a lot of discontent over the last week or so.
People hate them. They have no confidence in them. They think they're going to get blown out this week, and they want Fangio and everybody blown out.
Yeah.
I was actually stunned.
Well, that's what a lot of the stuff that I was reading over the weekend about the situation there was indicative of that response, that it's enough, that they've had enough, that they're at a no confidence level and they need a change. It's interesting from the standpoint of this was for much of my life a model organization with Pat Bowlen, a model organization. Not just they were always competitive, they rarely bottomed out. They were always very, very good, won a couple of Super Bowls, played in a bunch more. And even post-Elway, they were still always in the mix, whether it was Jake the Snake or they had Brian Greasy for a couple of years or even Tebow. They were always in the mix and, of course, led to Manning and of course, winning another Super Bowl there. But then it became the defense that became what they leaned on at the end of the Manning era. And now they do seem like they're kind of wayward right now. Everyone's anticipating a sale at some point. When it does, it'll be the highest a franchise has ever been sold for in our country. And you're kind of waiting. And they at quarterback they can't seem to get it sorted out. And right now with Vic as the head coach, they're certainly looking to find answers there.
You know, it's wild. If I had just kind of given you these numbers, what would you think?
Give them to me.
70% completions, 252 yards a game, 8 yards per attempt, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, quarterback rating of 101.
Yeah, it's very solid. It's very,
That's
very
what Teddy's
solid.
doing.
No, I know it. I know he's doing that. That doesn't surprise me that he's doing that. He is the classic. It's interesting that they both were with the Vikings because he and Cousins are similar in this. Like Cousins has a little more big play ability.
Sure.
But they're very similar in that they are incredible, and I mean this as a compliment. Don't take it negatively. Incredible stat accumulators. They are very efficient. They will move the sticks. They will take what they give you. The knock on both of them has been, and Cousins has had a much bigger track record of it and has actually had, Teddy was done in by the injuries in Minnesota, but it's can they elevate? That's the thing. Can you elevate a team? And if you're down, can you go win it because of them? Cousins has done that.
Cousins much more so, and I'll
Much
tell you
more
the
so.
biggest difference is this is one of the stats they isolate. So highest passer rating under pressure this year. Russ, 120. Bridgewater, 110. Brady, 104. Kyler, 98.
Yeah.
The guy who has the highest passer rating in the NFL when kept clean this year is Cousins. When you're clean, that means you can make big plays. Teddy is not there. Obviously, you want to get pressure on Teddy. Where he struggles is when you pressure with 4 because he has to throw into tighter windows. There are more guys in coverage. He's great against the blitz. I think he's the top-rated quarterback against the blitz as well in the NFL. So This is a game for the Browns to do what they do well, which is generate pressure with 4. The Browns right now, when not blitzing, 4th in the NFL in pressure rate, 3rd in sack rate. And when you think about on the other side, Bridgewater, he struggles when teams don't blitz, 24th in passer rating, 23rd in yards per attempt, 4 interceptions when not blitz the last 2 weeks, most in the NFL with, believe it or not, Pat Mahomes. So that's a big matchup when we get into our offense, their defense. But back to our offense against their defense, and this team, they've gotten good quarterback play. They're banged up on the offense side, which we'll talk about. But defensively, whereas they were suffocating early against bad competition, they have struggled. And Von Miller even said when he said, I want to put some of this on to me, you go through Von Miller's game logs and you say to yourself, okay, Von Miller, and he basically said, when I was good, we were good. When I haven't been good, we haven't been good. And for the Browns, that's a huge matchup. You talk about who can wreck the game, and it's going to be Blake Hance against Von Miller. He plays on that left side. He rushes against the right tackle. 4 of his 4.5 sacks came in the first 3 weeks. All wins. 1/2 of a sack the last 3 games. 0-3.
Yeah.
That's kind of the difference in terms of what he means to a football team and how he can wreck a game. And for the Browns, it's going to be critical for Blake Hance and getting some help, though, to slow Von Miller down.
Absolutely. So, little over-under fun coming up next.
Chesty! Give it!
Another big week for him. That's coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Vantage has that local presence with the global footprint, trusted by some of the world's biggest brands. I'm going to read a testimonial from an EOX Vantage client, Ed Scheel. Ed's the vice president of Skyward Specialty Insurance. He says, quote, "The tools we've designed with EOX Vantage are real business game changers. They open the door for us to all sorts of valuable opportunities and efficiencies. They help our team members stay on the same page while collaborating remotely, make it easy to communicate with customers, cut down on manual data entry and the associated input errors, and cut hours off processes and response times. Operationally, it is a brand new ball game for us. And it can be for you, too. Learn more at eoxvantage.com by visiting and giving them a call at 216-298-1616. Local company, good people, folks. They'll treat you well. Time for a little over and under and Chesty Gibby.
Get Chesty Gibby.
We're going to settle down today.
Are you kidding me? You went back-to-back 4-1 weeks.
Oh, I know.
You're 8-2
and
the last 2 weeks.
there's big things planned when I continue to go 4-1.
Oh, my gosh.
But it is a game day, and I don't want to detract from the most important thing today.
There's nothing
Which
that's
is
I was told that
there's nothing that's going to happen today in this town that's more important than the next 5 minutes.
I was told that players and
Nothing.
coaches were looking forward to this segment to get some inspiration, to get some pump up from Chesty Gibby.
Well, sometimes it's motivation because I say the exact opposite of what we should do.
Well, that's true. That's true. What's
just
in
win.
What's in that? What do you got in there? What do you? Oh boy, a nice orange
Little
Yeti.
pregame spritzer.
Oh boy, what a real treat out of that.
Look,
boy. What is the pregame? What would be the pregame on a cool, rainy October night? What's the pregaming that you got to have there?
I feel like you got to go with a little warm apple pie.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
What?
The drink.
The drink, yeah.
What is that?
I assume you mean like the bootlegging apple pie, like the homemade apple pie.
Like a moonshine?
Yeah.
Yeah, moonshine.
Like a little moonshine. But
Heated.
warmed up.
Yeah.
Warmed up.
Yeah.
And you
A la
can
mode?
mix, you can add certain things to it,
Yeah.
certain liquors,
Like an ice cream?
certain
We
spirits.
used a big one for us back growing up in the Bay Area, where it would get unseasonably even almost 40 below at times in the Bay Area growing up, which is hard for grapes. So I know that you're saying, boy, that seems impossible. You're so close to wine country. Well, it happened. Was the hot Alpine. So that is a hot chocolate with a peppermint schnapps.
Oh, very nice. My
Yeah.
wife makes that.
Yeah.
I did not know that you called it an Alpine.
Yeah, we called it an Alpine. And then that's a warm, nice.
See, I'm not a
treat.
big peppermint guy.
You do spearmint, chocolate
Yeah.
spearmint. That'd do it.
I got you on that.
Yeah.
I like that.
The problem, I mean, the keg beer it's going to get. This isn't that cold. I mean, it's
I
like
was just going
50.
to say, I feel like we're talking about this game like it's taking place in a blizzard.
it'd be in the
and we need
50s.
like a
Look,
St. Bernard
well-
to give us a little cocoa out of its neck when we get cold.
How much of tomorrow's show are we going to have to hear about how wet and cold he is
Oh,
by the end of it?
1,000,000,000%. That man has not come prepared at all.
Okay, two things. One,
The look in the camera was amazing in that one. I'm so proud of it.
One.
Somebody's got to have that. That was wonderful. So great.
I do have a rain jack today. Two,
Okay.
I don't get to have any of these beverages. I'm a working professional.
You're out there working.
I'm not just in
Well,
the
you were just saying
crowd.
it wasn't going to be
Like-
cold. I think by the end it
You're
will be.
like,
but I
it's
still-
not
I
gonna
was in
rain,
my
so I
mind-
just brought a rain jacket. Is it a heavy rain jacket or is
Yeah.
it a light rain jacket? 'Cause it's going to be damp. It's
Yeah.
going to be like 15 to 20 mile an hour winds.
Is it really wind too?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
I'm gonna have to hit up the team shot.
That's
team
the
shop
only
and
reason
get
why the
myself a
man doesn't
beanie.
bring clothing.
Yeah,
It's
there
an
you go.
excuse to go hit the team shop.
Yeah.
No, I like
They
to
ought to
be a
just
fine
sling
dressed
stuff.
man.
They ought to just sling stuff at you. You're a walking billboard.
I'm trying right now. I don't even know this is available though, which is sad.
Yeah.
I don't believe that it is.
I can tell you that this quarter zip's available at vineyardvines.com, the Jim Nance collection.
living
Living
at Pebble Beach.
Pebble Beach.
What's
So
the
that
name
is
of that
available.
vineyard vine pullover? Is it?
I'm sure it's the
from
Pescadero or something like that. It's definitely,
Pescadero.
I don't know what it is, but it's
A
definitely
Carmel.
Yeah, it's definitely something associated, as we know that he would be. All right, let's do it. Hit it.
Over
it's just
or
peace.
under.
It's gorgeous.
The craftsmanship.
Oh, yeah, really is.
Is it like a real tight houndstooth, or is it
It's
just?
yeah.
is-
well, no,
'Cause
I don't know.
there's some type
There's
of
a
a
little
patterning
pattern
in
to
it.
it.
Yeah.
It shimmers. A little bit of shimmer
It
in
looks
it.
to me like it's made out of cashmere.
Rush yards for our team. By the way, the records for last week.
Nobody want to hear my pregame. Just get a little tequila, throw some jalapenos in there, heat yourself up. Let's go.
Zegura 2 and 3.
Maybe you should
Gibby.
follow me more often.
Gibby 4 and 1. So Gibbe goes 4-1, 4-1 in back-to-back weeks, stretches his lead. He's now 18-12 on the year. You are 11-19 on the year.
Focusing on the scores.
Focus. Oof. Got any gum?
Look
Rushing
over
yards.
Here. Don't look over here. But I'll remind you, if I go 4-1 next week, then I'm back.
There you're back, baby. All right, well, let's start with rushing yards. Team rushing yards. The Cleveland Football Browns. We start with Gibby because he won 128.5 team rushing yards for the Cleveland Football Browns.
Under. I think it's going to be a solid night for our guy D'Ernest. But I team effort-wise, I just wonder if we're not going to come out and sling it around a little bit.
Oh, my gosh. Zegura.
He's so annoying.
Oh, it's all right. Are you going under too? Nathan, it's great. It's okay to follow me.
I don't want to follow you. I either want this to be the Grand Canyon between us, or I'm just going to roar right back in. We're going to have like a 10-point swing in 1
I mean,
week.
I can give it back in 2 weeks. There's clearly no.
120 for everybody? That counts like
128.5.
That counts Case Keenum getting on his
team
horse.
rushing yards. 128.5.
Over.
Over or under?
We are looking for a completion percentage of one Case Keenum. 68.5.
I wrote down 64% initially, so I'll take the under, and I'll be pleased with it. It doesn't need to be 70% for us to win this game.
Give it.
Same. I'll go under.
He should have to go first every time. It's outrageous. What would you have said if you went first? What would you have said if you went first?
Doesn't matter.
Actually, I was going to go under.
Okay.
Over
That's right.
or under?
Sacks, interceptions, and fumbles.
We got all
sloppy.
all wrong last week.
Everybody was wrong last week.
I still think we got that right. That
Take it up with the rules
snap,
committee.
That's a sack. That's why it's a race to the quarterback to touch
Not
him.
according to the National Football League.
Ugh.
Gibbe.
Got jobbed by the statistician and the refs.
5.1.
That's
Remember the last time we were mocked for this, what happened? 5.1.
This is a defensive slobber knocker, and I'm taking the over.
Yes! Zegura. He wanted to go over so bad.
It's all right. Let him go first. Let him go first. All right, I'll go first. I'll set the tone. It's all right for you to follow.
The segment
See,
quickly
I don't even need to
becoming
come
one
in
of my
there.
least favorites of the week.
What are you going to go under?
All you do is gulp life, and this segment just sucks it out of you.
I know.
It
I
does.
love it.
It's
I love
fantastic.
it.
You're spite.
See, I don't even have to come in there and dance.
it's a-
I'm in your head.
It's a
I
spite
am
segment.
taking space.
It's a spite segment.
Under.
Next.
Wait, did you go under?
You went under.
Over or under?
Was it 5.1?
Yeah. It was a big number. Broncos team rushing. Broncos team rushing. 140.5.
Under.
Under.
Not even close.
Yeah. I would have jumped in and just told you under. Like,
All right.
there's no way. The defense comes to play tonight.
We
They know that they got to do
All right.
what they got to do for us
We
to
have
win.
not given that up all year.
No way.
Not tonight.
Over or under?
The actual, you're going to be so mad at this because you're both going to have to go under. I'm surprised at this one. 41.
I know.
41.
Except I'm not going under.
What?
I'm going over.
What?
41.
Unprecedented.
It's 24-20 Browns tonight.
Zegura.
I hate so much
There's nothing you hate
By
more.
the way,
about the things that you choose to be.
great drink in the Muni lot. Well, it wasn't a great experience, but my friend just texted me, Janko,
Yeah.
and I remembered for his bachelor party, we all went to the final game of the year in 2007
Yep.
when we had a chance to go to the playoffs.
Yep.
I split a bottle with some random people I met in the Muni lot, blackberry brandy, in amongst beer and a few other shots and liquors.
Brandy. That's a Papa Bishop special. He loves a brandy.
Good news.
Big brandy.
I was warm. Hey, Zegura, I'm sorry. I didn't. I should have just let you go there, but
That's your segment now.
You're
I don't
right.
know why I'm here.
That's exactly right.
I don't
Kiss
even
the
know why
ring.
I'm here. I will not.
the ring.
I will not kiss the ring. By the way, I have so many rings on my hands from past seasons. Don't make me Tom Brady and wear all my over-under rings
like 1 or 2
here.
years.
Stay in the present. Stay in the present.
That's right.
What have you done for me lately?
Over or under 41.
What did he say?
He said over.
Opposite.
Do the opposite.
I mean, that's a pretty low number.
It's a low number.
I'm going to gain 2 on you this week already.
Benjamin Albright up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. When you're dedicated to bring the best value to your customers, you got to do a little bit of work. And Northeast Factory Direct, founded on the principle that quality shouldn't have to cost you a ton. They prove it every day. They keep the overhead low. They buy in bulk. They pass the savings on to you. During Northeast Factory Direct's garage sale, you can find Queen Pillow Top mattress starting just $3.99, double-sided pillow tops for $6.99. And when you buy that Queen Prestige mattress for $6.99 or King for $7.99, you get a bundle of free stuff, a set of sheets, 2 pillows, a mattress protector. Check them out, West 140th Street in Cleveland, Lakeland Boulevard in Euclid, or Freeway Drive in Macedonia. You can shop them anytime online at northeastfactorydirect.com. And with that, we head behind enemy lines on the hotline with our great friend Benjamin Albright, NFL insider and host on KOA in Denver. Go ahead, Dr. Z. You have something right out of the gates.
I do. I don't know if you know this, Beau, but Ben's well aware of it, that this is being called, because he's so popular in Cleveland and popular in Denver, this is being called the Albright Bowl. That's what they're calling this game. That's how.
Which is
that's
amazing.
The billing. Yeah.
Wow. That is
pretty good.
Appropriate.
Definitely appropriate.
Literally no one is calling it.
I saw it on Twitter, so it must be true.
I appreciate it.
I saw it on Twitter, Ben. It must be true. The Albright Bowl.
Oh, it has. Yeah, right. It's on Twitter. It has to be true. That is correct.
That's the standard these days.
Ben, I don't know if you know this about Cleveland, but honestly, we can have that on a shirt in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Albright Bowl can be on a shirt in 30 minutes.
I need this in my life.
The Albright Bowl 2021. Keenum, Bridgewater, Albright Bowl.
This one.
I like to think that anything with my name attached to it would have all the sexiness of a Thursday night football game in the wind and rain featuring Case Keenum and Teddy Bridgewater.
That's right. Exactly.
This one. Man, this was not in the brochure when the schedule came out. Ben, thinking about who's going to be participating in this game, especially from our side of things, from the Broncos side of things either. But it's a monster here. What's the temperature in Denver where you are in terms of going into this one? Both teams come in at 3-3, but it almost doesn't feel like that.
Well, right. It's a must-win game, I think, for both teams for different reasons. I think the temperature here in Denver depends on where you're standing. If you're sitting on the seat of Pat Shurmur, it's red hot. And if you're in the stands with the fans, it might be the cold shoulder. It really has been, a team that started off 3-0, got a lot of false hope after beating up on some bad football teams, and then a 3-week reality check as they got shellacked by the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, and this past week the Raiders on Mike Shanahan Day, which was throwing salt in the wound.
And Ben, I got to tell you, I was on with you last night there, and I was shocked at how upset it sounds like the fan base is about what's going on with the Broncos. They've had a lot of injuries on both sides of the ball of important players. They're still sitting here at 3-3. They won the games they should. They have not, obviously overcome games where I'm guessing they were underdogs in those 3 that they ended up losing. Where's that kind of coming from about this football team?
I think over the last 5 years, this fan base has really kind of come to see that this team has not been, good, and it is kind of more of the same. You kind of build yourself up before the season. This is going to be the year where Vic Fangio, this team breaks out. You start 3-0, and then all of a sudden this slide continues. They weren't even competitive in the last 3 games. It wasn't that they lost them. It was that they got beat. Before the Ravens game, a Ravens linebacker called the Broncos finesse and said they were going to come out and punch him in the mouth, and then they did. And this team has just not been the same since.
So Teddy Bridgewater tonight. They drafted Drew Lock a couple of years ago. There was a lot of optimism around that. It's been Bridgewater's team. He's actually played more than fine. Nathan went over some of his statistical accomplishments this year. He's been more than fine, but obviously not the long-term answer. What is the best long-term answer for them? Do they go right back in? Do they hope Aaron Rodgers is eventually in the mix? What's your hunch on that from that standpoint?
Well, there's ostensibly a couple of different options. The draft, there's 4 or 5 quarterbacks in this draft that might be something. We'll see. The Aaron Rodgers thing, Rodgers wanted to be here, but Green Bay wouldn't take the calls this offseason. And then there's just kind of behind the scenes this whole Russell Wilson thing. Russ is not happy up there in Seattle, and he had been drafted by the Rockies organization in baseball and played for them, and he's always kind of wanted to get to Denver. So there's kind of this Russell Wilson thing looming in the background here. If they set of coaches out here, maybe they can trade for and lure Russ Wilson out here and turn things around that way.
And that's kind of what they've been wanting for so long, is to get that
they did it
quarterback.
with
they
Manning.
did with Peyton Manning.
Yeah,
You've had Elway, you've had Manning, and then not as good. Some moments there. But it's a team that's gotten it done with the defense. And obviously our defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, was the defensive coordinator of the Broncos. While that defense was good, Malik Jackson here now. But Von Miller, the one constant, at least in the recent era, for that defense. And obviously he had some in-jest comments that he was going to kill the Browns this week, which was much better once you listen to it after reading it. But it really seems like he was kind of saying, look, when I dominate and wreck a game, we win. And that's kind of, it feels like the feeling in Denver is that D needs to wreck a game. And I feel like right now for us in Cleveland tonight, our D and Myles Garrett need to wreck a game because of all the injuries on our offense.
Well, yeah, and Von does that every once in a while. When they go through a bad snap, he'll put the pressure on himself, and usually has a good game when he does it. When he says something like that, the last time he did something like that, I think he guaranteed a win over Arizona, and they beat him like 42-14 or something. So, he does that every once in a while. It's kind of a motivational ploy. But yeah, he does. He needs that game. The pass rush, aside from him, has been non-existent, and teams over the last 3 weeks have figured that out. They're sliding protection to his side, and so they're just not getting anything done with Malik Reed over on the other side. They tried using Alexander Johnson to blitz. He got a couple sacks, then he tore a pec. He's done. They used the rookie Caden Stearns to shoot the gaps as a safety. That got a couple of sacks, and then they got away from that. So they just haven't been able to develop a consistent pass rush at all, and that's really kind of been the problem with this defense all year. Highest paid secondary, but they can't get to the quarterback, and eventually the secondary surrenders yards and points.
I was going to say they play a ton of shell. They don't give up big plays. They're second in terms of, allowing the fewest number of big plays. So that part of it's effective. But to your point, if you can't get pressure, it doesn't matter how talented the guys are. And you think about Jackson and Simmons on the back end, that's elite. You bring in Patrick Surtain the second, but they're still giving up a high efficiency to opposing quarterbacks when they're not getting any of that heat. Do you think that they're going to maybe try to change that, try to bring more blitzes, more, exotic looks against Case Keenum tonight?
I think they'll give the looks. They've tried the blitzing, and it just hasn't worked. Over the last 3 weeks, they've been the number 2 blitzing team in the NFL, which is kind of antithetical to what Vic Fangio wants to do. Vic wants to drop everybody back and play that shell. So I think with the fact that they've got 2 replacement inside linebackers in Micah Kaiser and Justin Strnad, and the fact that they've just not been able to dial it up and get any pressure, I think you're going to see them just drop back, play bend, don't break, and see if they can get Cleveland to settle for field goals.
Ben, if you put the Broncos fan base and you hooked them, you ask them, is it almost better to lose from the standpoint of that almost forces change and that makes it go in another direction? Because the one place you don't want to be in the NFL is the road to nowhere. You don't want to be a team that's, in the old days 6-10, 7-9, but you at some point you kind of have to bottom in order to restart. And if they start to win again, does that save Fangio's job? Where is the fan base with that from the standpoint of – because they got a ton of young talent. I mean, it's a ton of young talent. It's injured, but especially at receiver. But they got to get a ton of young talent. What's the fan base's view on that?
I think you hit the nail on the head. They're kind of torn because you look at this Cleveland game where you guys are so banged up that the people have convinced themselves they got a chance, and then the next game is 10 days away with Washington, which you figure is winnable. So there's people that have kind of convinced themselves of that. The problem with that is that doing that does kind of stave off change for a while, and unless this team makes the playoffs, this whole staff's going to be gone anyway. I'll spoil the surprise now. If they don't win the playoffs, this whole staff's going to be gone. That said, Pat Shurmur could be gone as soon as tonight if they come out and lay a donut. So, I think there's a lot of people rooting for the Broncos offense to fail in this game because they can't stand Pat Shurmur and they want to be rid of him. And based on the results, justifiably so. The Broncos have scored one singular opening drive touchdown in 24 games with Pat Shurmur as offensive coordinator.
Jeez, not great. And it's not from a lack of talent and not a lack of talent in terms of investment in guys like Noah Fant, Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, and I know Jeudy and Hamler won't be there. I saw that John Brown was added to the roster today. A guy who was very productive in Buffalo. He's been very productive in Baltimore. Typically, I think of John Brown and I think of a strong-armed quarterback who can get the ball down the field, which is not what Teddy is, as efficient as he has been. What do you make of that activation? And is John Brown somebody who has had some good games against the Browns in the past? Is he in line to get some work today?
Well, he got a few snaps last week, even though he'd only been with the team for a couple of days. They don't have anybody that can take the top off.
Right.
With Hamler out and Judy out, they haven't had anybody who can take the top off, and that kind of limits. I think they think that limits what the offense can do. That said, Cortland Sutton has the third most plays in the NFL, where he's hit 20 miles an hour on the radar gun this year. So he's got speed to him. Teddy just misses him with the football when he goes deep. And then you've got Tim Patrick, who's as sure-handed as it gets, but really more of a long strider, kind of more in the mold of Sutton, but a little bit slower. So they just haven't had anybody that was that vertical guy. He'll get snaps. I don't know if he'll get any targets, but he'll get snaps as kind of the clear-out guy and trying to work things underneath.
Ben, what's the blueprint for the Broncos tonight? What do they want to try to do in what will be kind of a windy, wet Thursday night game?
Well, I know what they should do. What they should do is run the football with Melvin Gordon, who's been one of the most efficient running backs in the NFL, and then give Javonte sparing carries and allow him to be his explosive self. What they'll probably do is outsmart themselves like they usually do, and they'll try and throw a whole bunch of deep balls, thinking air quotes nobody will be expecting it. Maybe we'll see another goal line fade to 5'8" Deontay Spencer, because that's something air quotes nobody would expect, and we'll have this offensive coordinator with his galaxy brain outsmarting everybody in the room, including himself.
What a line. That's an incredible job.
Costanza, let's go. The ball's not going to spike itself.
Well, the jerk store called, and they're running out of you.
This is what you get. This is the kind of hard-hitting analysis you get before the
right.
Albright Bowl,
right.
when you got Albright himself.
Beautiful.
we got to find a new name for that.
I love it. Hey, bud, I want to ask you about yesterday afternoon. Obviously, a lot of momentum with Deshaun Watson. I remember asking you about it this summer. You had some comments about it yesterday. Where do you think we are? It's one of the craziest, biggest stories in the league that nothing's happened. I don't know if it can happen. What are you hearing on that front?
Well, it's so weird because everybody I talk to expects this thing to get done. I talked about it on a Broncos pregame like 3 weeks ago, and everybody was expecting it to get done in the next 2 weeks. And we just keep expecting it to get done, and then it just doesn't get done. And it's just such an oddball thing. And then yesterday it was so weird because rumors were leaking out of Houston that the Broncos were in on Tua, which didn't make any sense to me. I've never heard a peep of that. And then I turned around and I asked the Broncos, like, yeah, we have never inquired even about Tua. Now I know Washington was interested, although they're denying it. I know they made a call on Tua. So my guess is that there's somebody that's still not on board there in Miami, and then Miami is not convinced that even if they get Deshaun, that the league office will allow him to play, because the league hasn't had to step in since the Texans have made him inactive every game. But everybody I know expects it to Miami to get done. I know Miami, if they get it done, they want to get it done before the trade deadline. The last thing they want is for this thing to go into next year where there would be other suitors, Carolina jumping back in the fray, potentially Philadelphia as well. So, I expected it to get done. If it doesn't get done, it'd blow my mind. I expect it to get done.
Is there something do you think if they get this done that he plays for, let's call it Miami, this season? Or do you think there's kind of like a hush-hush agreement between the NFL and the Texans that, okay, we're not going to put him on the commissioner's list as long as you're not playing him, but now if he goes to Miami, feels like there's going to be a threat that he would play. How do you read that situation?
Well, I think that's exactly it. And Miami at 1-5, really, like, why would you bring Watson in at this point? Because you're 1-5. That's just enough to make you middling for the rest of the year. So, I think if they bring him in, it's an investment on the future. I think that the trade would have to be structured as conditional picks, with the condition that Watson plays for you next year. Otherwise, they revert to middle round picks or something, because trading that much capital for a guy who may never play for you, honestly, doesn't seem like a wise move for a GM that's on the hot seat there in Miami.
It's such a complicated thing because you assume that if you're Miami, you'd want to do some legwork on trying to get into the middle of that case, or
of course,
what the NFL would think about it. You'd have to, but then isn't that tampering? Like, it feels like there's a lot of it's so complicated, Ben.
It is, and the other part about it is, I was just going to say real quickly, if you trade for him and you don't play him, and you say, oh, that's great, the picks that are going to be great picks are going to the Texans anyway.
Right.
So it really doesn't matter where you finish.
Right. So that's the other part of this is you'd have to get conditions on those picks that if he never plays for you, they they're not as bad. There's a whole lot of moving parts with all of that. I would also suspect that Miami would have to talk to Deshaun and be like, look, you're settling these civil cases, getting NDAs on them, whatever it takes, make that happen. Let's go. I imagine you'd have to have assurance on that before you'd make the move.
I mean, it's just one of those moves. I mean, you think about this, by the way, if this does happen, and you talked about Russell Wilson potentially in Denver or Rodgers, that's all those quarterbacks in the AFC. They're all in the AFC.
Stop it.
It's brutal.
Yeah,
It's
it's a landmine right now.
Yeah, it is. Great talking to you, buddy.
Yes.
Appreciate your time and enjoy the Albright Bowl tonight.
Absolutely, Albright Bowl 2021.
We'll have a T-shirt in an hour, I promise you.
It's big.
Take care, guys.
All right.
All right, that's our buddy Benjamin Albright joining us on the hotline, NFL insider and host on KOA in Denver. Yeah, if you reject if the Watson thing happens, we haven't talked about this. I mean, this happened yesterday afternoon. We got a couple minutes here because it's a potentially game changer
John
around
McClain.
the league. Well, when I saw that,
That's what I said. Oh, this is serious.
Charles Robinson. This was in August. You remember Robinson had this in August. Said it was going to be Miami. It was probably before the deadline. And then when McClain, we had him on when we played the Texans, and he had his stock answer on it. But now saying that it's imminent that it could be going there. There are so many layers to this, from the way to handle the picks that are going back. You're going to give. I wonder if because it's so complicated, I do wonder if there will not be actual players in the deal, because if he never plays for you, you can't give away one of your best defensive players. You can't get him back. So it's going to have to be completely pick dependent on this deal.
Yeah. And it's
you can't. Originally, they wanted two young defensive stars, is what they wanted. Well, that's not in the cards, because if he doesn't ever play, you're not going to get that back. So it's going to have to be picks.
It's a stunning thing, and I'm as curious to see if it happens, what's involved, what the deal looks like, as I am to see what the NFL's response is to the deal of him going somewhere where, he actually might end up on the field in 2021.
One of the biggest gifts of this, from the NFL's perspective, is they haven't had to deal with it.
Right, but this trade.
But this would force their hand to deal with it. And I don't know what you do, because he has not been criminally charged.
Correct.
These are civil lawsuits.
Correct.
And so that complicates it. You are on the timeline that is not one convenient for you. This is the courts. So this is February, we were hearing, for depositions on this thing. So that's all the way out. Do you suspend him on civil allegations? Now, we've suspended players before without being criminally being charged. Like, that's happened before in this league. But what a mess. I don't even know how you begin to do it.
And I would have to think that not only if it's the Dolphins, for example, let's say, they have done their own investigation into the alleged the charges, the civil charges
allegations,
at this time, the allegations against Deshaun Watson. And I would have to imagine they've spoken to somebody in the league office and said, hey, if we do this, what's happening? You have to.
You have to. You can't do it blind.
We're blind. I would imagine the answers are out there, but it may have been, hey, you're just going to have to wait and see. Make the deal, and he'll play for you at some point, perhaps.
Well, the other part of it, too, is if he is suspended or punished and he sits out, what is he, 26? He's 25, 26. He's young. So if he sits out for 2 seasons, what's he like when he comes back at age 27, if it is? I mean, let alone if he does jail time or any of that. Who knows?
Right. And is now the time to trade for him? Because in some ways, the intensity for somebody to get Watson
now is exactly when you trade for him.
For him, yes.
For him.
Because the intensity of the press conference every day from Busby, the lawyer for the 21 women, that's died down.
Yeah.
There's nothing pending until, as you said, into 2022. And at this point, you can at least organizationally say, okay, these are civil allegations at this point. Nothing has been proven. I think the longer you wait, the more you get to depositions, I think the worse it would be potentially, or he gets completely exonerated. I also think from the Texans standpoint, his value, if somebody's willing to give you value today, there's no guarantee that there's any value in him in the future.
No, but every value would be tied to contingencies. You'd have
Unless
to.
You're
not going to send him. You're not going to send Houston a 1 if contingent. It would always be contingent on him playing. You just couldn't do the compensation.
Of him being, you have to say eligible to play.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in Stephen Ross's shoes and you're Miami, you don't talk about Miami a lot in terms of a struggling franchise. But post Marino and really how many times could you wake up as a Dolphins fan and say we're a contender in 30 years?
Not.
No, not.
So, of course, you want it, and you want to get back to that relevancy. I also thought if they do make that trade and they think they can get him on the field, you got to think that the Bills are 4-2, sure, but there's a pretty clear path to second in that division. And if you're second in that division, you can end up getting yourself a winning
Costume
record.
change?
Oh, look at this.
Look at this.
Would you just look at I mean, that looks like that
Just
might
look at
be
the
right out
layers.
of the Nance collection
Oh,
as well.
I like it. I think he did.
I look like
Yeah.
it. Is that a cashmere?
Seeing your
He's
swag
just
with
strutting.
a certain,
Look at a
just
certain
peacocking
panache.
around.
A certain panache.
Oh my
A flair.
gosh. Just
look at him.
just
Yeah.
back- What does he need? He's got everything he needs. Unbelievable. The
Unbelievable.
layers. The layers. I
The
love it.
window pane. He's really
Window
been a
pane.
big. He's really, I think, been a fan of the window pane blazer in 2021, which I think is working.
Everything with that guy. I mean, come on. It was Swackets a couple years ago. Couldn't even keep track. Is it a shirt? Is it a jacket? It's both.
I don't know.
Who knows? Nobody
Yeah.
knows. Looks good.
Yeah.
Looks good on you. Yeah, there are a lot of layers to it.
But I would.
But
if I
everyone's
got him,
emphatic that it's going to get done.
if I got him, if I were the Dolphins and I made this trade and he's eligible to play, I'm playing him.
I would play him too. Yeah, I would play
I
him
need
too.
to give the Texans an even better pick. Like they're getting the pick anyway.
Right. Yeah. No, I want to win, and I want to set it up to where if you make the deal, you have to believe he's going to be playing in 2022. So get him acclimated. Get him in the system. Get him going. Absolutely do it. There's no question. Yeah. Think
Yeah.
about this. If you were redrafting the league,
He's a top 5 pick.
correct. And how many of those are 4 of them quarterbacks in the AFC? Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Watson would all be in the top 5.
I mean, if you're redrafting for the rest of their careers,
Correct.
I mean,
If you're starting from scratch right now and
Okay,
you're doing a
hold on.
franchise redraft
of the whole league,
of the whole league, you're starting a franchise,
Mahomes,
and somehow
Herbert,
it's
Allen, Watson, Kyler, Lamar, Burrow.
right. They're all in that. But I mean, the
And that's 8 that I just did, and 7 of them are in our conference.
AFC, they're all AFC guys, man. It's crazy.
The best in the NFC are, are the Staffords, the Russ. All right. There
That's
we
right.
go. The big man.
Big man in charge. That's
Ready to
right.
go.
All right. We will do the matchup. Our defense versus their offense coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Beau Bishop here for Raising Cane's. Stop by Raising Cane's this Halloween season, rather. Enjoy hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers with the Peanuts gang. Visit RaisingCanesGear.com to purchase a limited edition Peanuts t-shirt. Net proceeds will be donated to Canine Companions and its mission to provide trained assistant dogs to people with disabilities. It's awesome. Are you looking for a place to have fun while working hard? You can do that there, too. Raising Cane's is hiring. Visit workatcanes.com or text RC Jobs to 97211. Raising Cane's is one love. Pick some up tonight before the game, or if you're headed down to tailgate, scoop some of that up. It's a big win for everybody. Time for the matchup. Is that where we are? Yeah, we are, because we had the long segment. We're matchup time. Yeah, we're doing our defense, their offense. Dr. Z.
All right, this is an offense that, as we said, it is efficient. Teddy Bridgewater is playing at a pretty darn good level. He's got career highs in every category for him.
Unless you ask Albright.
Albright not pleased with the offense at all. Wants Shermer out of here. People hoping sheesh. He threw 3 picks last week. He also threw 3 touchdowns. That means in the first 5 games, he had 7 touchdowns and 1 interception.
Yeah.
So even at 10-4, 2.5, I like that ratio of touchdowns to interceptions. They've got, as I said, this 2-headed running back monster, Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Albright has been, frankly, not making me happy because he keeps talking about give Melvin Gordon the ball, give this. Javonte Williams has the highest missed tackle rate, 3rd in the league of big play runs.
You loved him coming out of Carolina. I remember you loved him out of Carolina.
And he's on my couple of my squads. Not tonight, Javonte. Not tonight. Not rooting for you tonight, even though I have to play you. I'm hoping for a 0. Don't want to play him. Don't want to do it.
So many buys this week. It's brutal.
Vikings.
Yeah.
Steelers.
Chargers.
Bills.
Yeah, that's a lot of guys out. Oh.
Jags.
I know.
Yeah, I know. I know you know.
Just it's one of those ones where you just
Dallas.
And Dallas, right. You're just taking an L.
Well, one of my teams, the core of my team is Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson. You don't want that. It's not an ideal scenario, but that's why it's working.
Yeah, but when you drafted, you just basically said, and I did this because I have Eckler and Harris and CeeDee Lamb, and I saw it all line up, and I just went, well, this is a punt week. It's what it is.
Taking on the Big Daddy and the 0-6 New Look Bouchers, who just might get their first win.
First dub against
I'm playing my squad this week. I think I'm down to. We lost Russ at quarterback, so I think we're rolling out Wentz, Elijah Mitchell, Javonte Williams, Michael Pittman, Rashad Bateman, and it's only his 2nd game in the NFL. Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh, jeez.
Kyle Pitt. We're not even projected to score 100 in a league where 125 is a pretty standard league. We're not projected for 100.
Well, the cream will rise to the top.
Not in this case.
Not in this case.
There's no cream. The cream's my bench is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0.
The cream reminds me. Last night I'm on my way home for basketball practice with my oldest, and he goes, Dad, who's that wrestler that Mr. Z does the impression of? Well, what does he say with the cream? and I tried doing it because we were talking about how you have to rise when you're we expect a lot of you got to rise, and so I tried doing that one that you do, the match, and it's not you, it's just not as good, and he was disappointed at my inability to do it at your level. So
the cream always rises to the top. Yeah,
I need that on. So that I can just say, play Zegura, cream rises to the top, and then it's ready. That's what we need.
Which child is this?
This is my oldest, Black Cobra. This was his hope today, was that he loved
Black Cobra. When times get tough, you got to dig down real deep, and you got to say, I am the cream. Yeah, and the cream always rises to the top. And so I'm going to get it done. They're going to give it to me in basketball. Boom! Splash Mountain. 3 points on the board. Yeah. If it's football, we need a big play. Yeah, I'm going to go down the field. I'm going to juke. I'm going to jive. I'm going to make them miss me. And then I'm going to dive into the end zone. Yeah, for the touchdown and the spike. And then when I hit the ground, the frost comes up. It's going to remind me of the cream rising to the top. Black Cobra. Yeah. So just get that.
Get that isolated. That's at the ready. We need that at the ready. That's beautiful.
Maybe that would help you in over-unders.
Jeez. The man does a public service for my son.
Let me tell you something, Jason Gibbs. Yeah, I've seen a lot of flavors of the week like you come and go. Yeah, I remember a time at Baskin-Robbins. They had a thing called grape ice. Nobody really liked it. They liked it for a second, and then a couple of weeks later, they said, let's go back to the reliable, the vanilla, the chocolate, the rocky road, Those are the champions of years past, and they'll be the champions again, you grape ice. High C drinking! Chesty Gibby,
Best thing McDonald's did in 2021.
I rolled in this meeting yesterday morning, 9 a.m.,
Yeah.
and Gibby's got like a 32-ounce cup, and I look at it, and it's red. I go, are you drinking High C right now? And he goes, yep.
9 a.m. I see.
What
Hey, I
are we
gotta
doing here?
take some meds this week.
What
and,
are we
and they've
doing?
Got me, they got me doing, and they're like, "Hey, you got to drink a bunch of clear liquids." I can only drink so much water.
By the way,
give it.
not clear.
The defense
That's
of
clear.
drinking the 64-ounce High C, saying I got to take a bunch of meds this week. Those would be counterproductive.
Totally.
No.
Those two things. Yes.
Icy Orange is not carbonated.
Gibby.
It is a.
I dare you.
It's a clear enough liquid
I
that
am-
I can maneuver around it.
I implore you to look at the sugar that is in 64 ounces
well,
of
good.
High
I needed
C.
it yesterday. We had
Gibby,
quite-
are you a label reader?
no,
No.
absolutely.
Come on.
The sugar gram on that, 1,200 grams of sugar
Out of control.
in a 64-ouncer.
How many hundreds of percents of the daily value is in 132 ounces
Oh.
of High C of his sugar content?
Oh, gosh.
Sad.
Months worth. Gibby.
Hey,
what
real
else?
quick,
Yeah.
total sidebar. Are we still talking matchup, or have we gone away from that?
Well, we interrupted because you were talking about the attributes of their offense. Then I said that Albright has no use for them.
I got someone. I got a friend looking for a bottle of tequila, $50 to $100.
Oh, you can't-
Oh, well, geez,
Like
there's
a
so many
nice
great
tequila
options.
for an anniversary
Well,
gift.
first
Don
of all,
Julio,
Don Julio.
1942.
Well, no, that's more than 50.
He said 50 to 100
$50
That's
to $100.
$130 for a Don Julio's 1942. It's $130.
for 95.
I'm gonna give you a-
Clase Azul.
Clase Azul's fantastic. That's in the hundreds. Get it in Añejo.
Yes.
The Grand Centenario Añejo is spectacular if you
Yes.
can find that, and it is in the market. The Don Julio Añejo is very, very good as well. Just you don't have to go to the 1942.
Yeah,
the
that-
Don Julio Añejo is great.
Casamigos
yeah.
even has a nice
Casamigos
añejo.
has. There's a lot of good tequila out there right
Yeah.
now. They do. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
I
Those would
will-
be the ones I would go with.
I will also say that for $30,
Mm-hmm.
the Rock's Terramana Reposado is a fine tequila. It's the Weller of tequila.
Is it really? It's the Weller Special Reserve of Tequila. By the way, now that's a ghost because we've talked about it so much. You used to be able to
Do
get it all
you
the time.
know that I have to go
$23.
to my Giant Eagle at 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and if there happens to be some, it's out on this table and you can get it, and if not, that's it.
That's it. Yeah.
So I
that's what's
popped. I
happening.
got lucky though, and I pulled a big fella.
Oh, a handle. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Doesn't have a handle on it, but it is a handle. How about that?
Yeah, they should. Yeah, that's what happens. Look, here's the lesson for the people out there. We move merch. We move liquor on this program. That's what we do. That's what I would do if I were him.
If there was a way to actually source this current hoodie that I'm on, I think we've sold about 80 of them today, maybe more.
Well, it was noticeable when I saw it last week when you first wore it. It's
kinda
a bit of an attention getter. It's so crisp. The lines are so crisp on it.
And then just a little shade of l'orange.
There's a risk you take in wearing that, though.
I took it off when I ate my Chipotle today.
Any splatter, done,
Toast.
done.
Although I do think that you have a big enough pure white area down here that if you needed to get a little bleach in one spot, you probably could do that to restore the.
Yeah, you want to make sure you can restore it.
By the way, my throat is saying, "Oh, you're gonna be talking until 11 o'clock tonight, my friend." Maybe I should just do my pregame scoreboard hit as the match one day and see if what percentage of people would know what was going on.
That was one of the greatest discoveries when I went to the game earlier this season and realized that you did that because I'd never either been in the stadium for you to do that. I've been in the game since you've been for sure, but either had not been in the stadium for it or whatever. But to see, I mean, it is if it's a situation where the task at hand and the human performing the task are perfectly married. It's as if it is what you were born to do,
I
sir.
want to cry. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what that is.
My favorite.
It's those two backs for us, right? Get the two backs down.
Yeah.
Don't let them get that going. and
No,
you should be
Javonte
good.
Williams hits big plays.
He's a home run hitter.
And Cortland Sutton is dangerous through the air. Ben made it sound like that they are Teddy Bridgewater is incapable of hitting him with the football. Now, I would go in and say, well, here's a guy who's caught 33 passes on the season, and he's got well over 400 yards, and he seems to be doing pretty good, if you ask me. 33 catches, 471 yards, averaging 14.3 a pop. You go into the game logs. Last 2 weeks, 25 targets, 15 catches, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns. I would say Courtland Sutton's doing just fine.
He's doing just fine. Yeah. Yeah, they still have some fireworks, and that's why when I was hoping that Justin Fields selfishly would end up there because I think it would have been a perfect spot for him. Although that coaching staff apparently is a mess, but other than that, that was a perfect spot for him with the talent. It's the place where you don't want Aaron Rodgers to go.
Sure.
It's the place you don't want Russell Wilson to go because they have everything else. They just don't have that part figured out to the way of being a championship level. Coming up next, we hit you with your keys to victory. Before they do that, though, gambling without setting limits on how much you're going to wager or how long you'll play is like a football team going into a game without a game plan. It's probably going to end up in a loss. Always set limits before you bet. Get more tips like this at keepitfunohio.com. Your keys to victory coming up next. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If your game plan for this season includes buying or selling a home, Howard Hanna Real Estate Services has you covered. Visit howardhanna.com/GoBrowns today. Time for the keys to victory. Dr. Z.
All right, and then after that we have to
have other
dive
things?
into something else.
All right, go
Would
ahead.
you like to do that before or after?
Is it something that's going to leave me happy? Because I would rather get the keys to
Let's
victory
get
or
keys to
leave me
victory.
happy.
All right, yeah.
So I tell you what, I want to end this segment in a good mood.
Let's end it with the keys.
So let's end it with the keys,
let's
and then
start
we can
with this.
do the nonsense, whatever this is.
First and foremost, we should. Eisen is dropping Zegura clips on his Twitter handle right now. We're competing against each other.
We're competing against ourselves.
Yeah. Eisen,
Untenable.
what are you doing?
It's just a Twitter clip. That's not a competition.
That's the classic Costanza where the independent George meets relationship George, and a George cannot stand.
That's right.
Yeah. Go ahead. What's going to make me
Listen, there are a lot of in the interview. There were multiple Cleveland Browns Daily mentions.
beautiful.
So
You're always a good teammate.
circle of life there, brother.
Yeah.
Adam Rittenberg reports the Illinois coach Brett Bielema. Did I say his name right?
Yeah, you said it right. Burt Bielema.
Says his comments about personnel Monday were, quote, completely taken out of context. Says he wasn't talking about the current Illini roster. Bielema showed the entire transcript of his comments to the team Tuesday. Big Cat, who's been on this program,
Yeah.
says, I don't know how a video we all watched was taken out of context, but now I'm questioning my own ability to comprehend words. Point Brett. Same. What do you mean?
So-
it was directly about this year's roster.
It's a minute 30 clip. You directly cite this year's roster.
directly.
No one is, in fact, at one point he says, no one in the two deep who has been recruited in the last 3 years is contributing to this team in any meaningful way.
This team on the offensive line,
Yes.
he said that. And he said
Yes.
everybody got invited back
Back
because of COVID.
Because
and next
of COVID.
year,
And I'd
nobody
be happy to have them, but I don't know now. All of that was said on the record. This is the latest. Buddy, it's not a lie if you believe it. We used to have fun with this with Costanza. We live in a it's not a lie if you believe it society. Just lie.
Shaggy was so ahead of his time.
Wasn't me.
I mean, it's
What
on
a clown
video.
show. What a
It's
clown
on
show.
video.
Crazy thing is, Illinois, it's not like they could fire him if they wanted to. They're not going to be able to pay his buyout. So, no, yes, everyone has. It's a minute 30 clip. Actually, Brett, it's taken in with complete context.
You even set up the context.
Yes.
You
You
yourself
delivered the context.
provided the context. Oh, boy. All right. Now, here we
Joy.
go.
Give me joy.
Some joy here. The keys to victory for your Cleveland football Browns in this game against the visiting Denver Broncos, or as S likes to say when he pretends that he's a PA announcer, the Denver Broncos. Do you know that that's one of his great aspirations? Like he would give
a
it all up tomorrow to be the PA announcer for the Browns. All of it.
Does he have the panache for it? Does he have?
Oh, he's good. Yeah.
Is he really?
First and goal to go Cleveland.
Oh, really? He could
At
really.
the Pittsburgh 3. And then he'll be like, 1st and 10 Browns at the Steeler 22. Yeah, he's got a whole
He's got a whole thing.
he could do his whole shtick for
Wow.
That's his dream.
Can he do it to me over text?
I don't know. I sent him something today that he goes, "How'd you know that?" I go, "I can't text about it.
Can't text. Can't text.
Can't
Can't
text
text about it. Yeah.
I can't text
All right.
about how I know that." But what I do know that these are the keys to victory for
Yep.
the Browns against the Broncos. Number 1, protect Case Keenum. The Broncos have the 4th-ranked defense in the NFL, both in terms of scoring and total yardage. They're also 9th with 14 sacks on the season, led by former NFL Defensive Player of the Year Von Miller, who has 4.5 sacks. The Browns now, they've got Blake Hance at right tackle. That is going to be a huge matchup, and protecting Keenum specifically from Miller will be essential on Thursday night. In Keenum's best season, 2017, with Stefanski and the Vikings, he was very efficient when kept clean. While operating free of pressure, Keenum, 74% completions, 8.1 yards per attempt, 18 touchdowns, only 6 picks, quarterback rating of 107. And then in the quick game, that's where he was elite. 75% completions, 1,719 yards, 14 touchdowns, quarterback rating of 106. That year, his quarterback rating in the quick game was 3rd in the NFL, behind only Drew Brees and Russell Wilson. So very,
There you
very
go.
good. So keeping him clean, utilizing the quick passing game will be the key to slowing down Von Miller and company for the aggressive Denver defense. There's one bright spot. It's at the center of the Browns' offensive line is fully intact, Batonio, Treader, and Teller. That trio should be able to hold the middle of the line, give Keenum the ability to step up in the pocket and deliver the ball in between the numbers where he thrives. Back in that 2017 season, Keenum was elite between the numbers. 12 touchdowns, 1 interception, quarterback rating of at least 104 at every level. 112 behind the line of scrimmage, 104.50 to 9 yards, 114, 10 to 19, and 126 of 20+. So creating the right environment for Keenum and keeping the Denver pressure bay will be critical to the offensive success on Thursday night. And we talked about 3 wins, 4 sacks for Von Miller. 3 losses, a half sack total. Number 2. The raw power defensive performance. We're calling on the D to get it done tonight. This defense turning the best performance in the history, 75-year history of the franchise when they held the Bears to just 47 net yards of offense in a 26-6 win. They then go and they shut down the Vikings 14-7. In the Browns' 3 wins, they've given up 11 points and 200 yards per game. In those games, 4 takeaways, 12 sacks, dominant, winning football. The 3 losses, different story. 39 points a game, 414 yards of offense, just 1 turnover, 6 sacks total. Now, those were against elite offenses. The Broncos, not elite. 22nd in scoring, 13 in yards, 14 in rushing. But they've already allowed 19 sacks this year, 3rd most in the NFL. And the Browns' highly touted defensive line needs to wreak havoc up front. In the Broncos' last 3 games, all losses, 12 sacks, 6 giveaways. Dominate them up front. And that brings me to being money on the money downs. Are we running out of time?
Yes.
In typical fashion.
You want keys to victory? It says 2:30 on the rundown. Ample time. 3rd and 4th down. When we're good on 3rd and 4th down, offensively, defensively, we win. When we're bad, we've lost. Be good. Denver, worst 3rd down team in the NFL. But good on 4th downs, 9 of 12. Most conversions in the NFL. Next.
So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily 850.
ESPN Cleveland.
If your Social Security benefits have been denied, call the disability lawyers at 100 Elk, Ohio. Elk & Elk's a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Browns, 20. Broncos, 8.
15.
Ram it. Browns, 14. Broncos, 0. Shutout.